Well, hello and welcome to episode 25 of our backyard garden in the South Carolina upstate. It is July 26th of 2024, and it's a Friday morning, kind of a hazy sun. It's about 78 or 80 degrees right now, headed for upper 80s. There's a little bit of a breeze right now. It's a perfect time to do a video. So we're going to show off our backyard. We just finished the front yard. As I was saying up there, our weather here has been very rainy for the last week, so we've got more color than we did last week, especially in the front yard. The front yard was really kind of quiet last week. I did a pretty short video, but this week it's doing much better, and we're going to see a lot of color in the back as well. So we're going to get started right now. As we've been doing here this summer, we're starting off with our little Cleome forest, including the one that's really growing pretty significantly out of the concrete walk here. I mean, we've got a pretty big stalk there. These just come up from seed, and then of course all of these down in here. I think because of the hot weather, and it's been a little hotter this year so far than usual, a lot of these Cleome have finished up already. As you look through here, a lot of them are brown. They're just done. You just have the seed pods, which we leave alone so that they will reseed and we'll get more flowers next year. But still have a lot of flowers and new ones coming up, like this group over here. These were a little bit late to the party. And the ones back in here at our flower pit, just growing up out of either the stones or the bricks. We have quite a few that have just come up to kind of take the place of the ones that are finished up. So these are fun. They're big. They give us color over several months of the summer, and you don't have to do anything. They reseed and they just keep coming back year after year. Also worth noting, we have a morning glory growing up the side of the house. It's just giving us a couple of flowers so far, but hopefully as we get into the later part of the summer and fall, we'll be getting more flowers from that. And then over here we have a nice yellow knockout rose, giving us a nice little cluster of flowers. Unfortunately, these tend to bleach out as soon as they bloom, so they're bright yellow initially, and then usually within about 12 hours they start to bleach out. So if you catch them at the wrong time, they may just look white, but they're actually yellow. Now, this is our backyard hydrangea. It's about I'd say 6 or 8 weeks behind the hydrangeas, which are in our front yard, the more typical pink and blue kind. Something that's worth noting, if I can get him on the screen here, this little guy looks like a wasp. He's actually kind of a bluish black color. He's a mud dauber, and these are not your typical wasps or yellow jackets by any means. I'm sure they could sting you if they felt the need to, but they eat spiders, especially black widow spiders. So I learned early on, leave these little guys alone. They are our best friends, especially for somebody like myself who does not like spiders. So as to say, we have 4 of these hydrangeas, all doing really well. They're kind of at their peak right now, and they probably will continue to bloom for another month, and then they'll start to fade out in color, really attracting large numbers of insects today. Everything is. Our zinnias out front were giving us huge numbers of butterflies and moths. Here we have a stargazer lily, absolutely gorgeous lily that we put in this spring, and it's doing really, really well. We put a lot of bulbs in this spring, which actually worked out great because a lot of things have finished up. The normal lilies that have come up just from past years are all long since finished, but the ones that we put in May are just blooming now. So it's nice that we're not completely finished with that. We have some gorgeous lilies down in here. You get these ones with the multicolored yellow and peach, pale green in the throat, They're just beautiful, and they take the place of a lot of other things that are spring related back in this area, like our butterfly bush. This is just about finished up, unless it gets a second wind, and I'm not sure if it will or not. But it has these beautiful purple flowers, just not a whole lot of them at this point. And we have begonias that we've put in. These we just got at a box store. Doing relatively well. We're seeing a little more life out of the ones further down. We'll get to those in a moment. And then up here, we're just seeing some really interesting insects. And today I'm seeing more insects than I have seen in a long time. And it might be because of all the rain that we've had. But this little beetle here is not something that I typically see on these hydrangeas. And a bumblebee. Just seeing all kinds of these insects today. It's really really interesting. Another one of these similar beetles up here, but all part of the ecosystem. I know some people do not care for insects. I have no problem, as I always say, 6 legs I have no problem, 8 legs I am headed somewhere else. No part of spiders. But here we have some more of the bright purple butterfly bush flowers. They're doing really well. And it's interesting, up in here is a huge spider web in between the branches. I don't know how much of it you can see. The spider itself is in there. He's tiny, very, very small spider, but he's catching all kinds of bugs. And again, just all part of the big old ecosystem that we have down here. Bigger ecosystem because of the pond. We get a lot more insects because of that, and so there's just a lot more activity in general. Whenever you have a water source, there's always going to be a lot going on. More stargazer lilies here, and we have some more buds, so these are going to continue to bloom for a while. A lot of other things back in here that are finished up. Knockout roses, clematis, all finished for the year. Calla lily here. It's all done for the year, but these begonias are doing great. Jenny bought these at the box stores, probably Walmart, a few weeks back, maybe 6 or 8 weeks. They've done well. They've enlarged in size. Also, creeping Jenny. It's a nice little ground cover plant. We put those in. They're doing very well, and some impatiens. Now this one is not doing superbly, but these have probably grown about 4 times in size over when we bought them a few weeks back, and they're just giving us some fantastic color back here in the shadier part of our garden. We had put them for the last 2 or 3 years along our little pathway here going down into the shadier part towards the pond, and last year they did not do well at all. We had the more expensive type of impatiens that just did not do well at all. No flowers, and eventually most of the plants just collapsed. But we're really having some success this year. I was very happy to see that. Here, our one of our 6 azaleas. They are covered with flowers in the spring, but we do get a second heaping of flowers here in the it's typically in the fall, but for some reason it's early summer here. We're still not even at the midsummer point, which is August 6th, but 2 weeks away. So I still consider this early to midsummer, but we're getting a lot of nice azaleas, giving us just a little bit more color down here. A lot of plants growing out of the mulch here, and these are mostly black-eyed Susans that have just come up from seed. Most of those are down in the terraced area here. Something else that's worth noticing, this is one of our big wisteria. Normally this is an April flower, but you'll get little blooms at strange times of the year like this. So it's really nice to see that. One of the nice little surprises that you get from week to week. And Then as we come back up this way, all of our daylilies in this area are done now. We had some beautiful lemon yellow daylilies that were blooming as of last week. Oh, no, I take it back. We do have one more bud. So probably at some time in the next few days we'll get one more flower out of that, but then that'll be it for the year. More roses back in here. Nothing really currently to show off, but there will be again before too long. A lot of vinca down in here. These will give us a lot of color over the last half of summer. Our big knockout rose with the blood red flowers. This has a few right now. It'll probably come back with more in another 2 or 3 weeks. Here is a hibiscus. This is one that has not done as well, believe it or not, despite these gigantic flowers. I put this in right as it was starting to get hot, and it didn't get quite enough water, so it lost a lot of its leaves. It's looking a lot better now, especially with all the rain that we've had this week. So hopefully it'll continue to do well. We've got a lot of zinnias mixed in, climbing roses, jasmine, all kinds of things up on the trellis there. These were all kind of in bloom just a couple of weeks ago, and now they're done for the time being, but they'll come back. We'll get some more color this year. Vinca here, these white ones, really blooming nicely. Also, I don't know the name of these. Even Jenny doesn't know. We think it's related to spiderwort, just based on the flowers. It's this purple plant. They're fairly common down here. The first one that's given us a little flower down here. It's kind of neat. I see a couple others over here. Hopefully we'll get more as time goes by. This is our other hibiscus, bright yellow. This one has done very well. It got just enough water to really thrive, and hopefully it'll continue to grow and give us more flowers as the year progresses. I walked right past this big climbing rose here, which has done very well. Just when you think this one is finished, it will come back with some more flowers. And it's got some buds up top. So it'll continue to give us color throughout the growing season. Veronica here, they're past their prime, but they're still giving us a lot of color. A lot of these purple stalks doing very well, and as always covered with bumblebees, which is nice to see. Really getting chewed up by mosquitoes down here today. I think probably just because of the humidity. Even though it's not all that hot, we just get a lot of that down here by the pond. Roses, daisies, even some of the jasmine still blooming after a couple of months. Even have a few clematis that are in bloom, just kind of out of nowhere, and a rose. I didn't see this yellow tea rose back here is just about to give us a nice big yellow bloom. So there's always a lot going on here. And then our other big butterfly bush here in our backyard, giving us beautiful bright purple flowers. This one is still kind of at its peak. It's going to probably bloom for another month or so before it starts to tail off. And then this area here, we just put in flowers this month. We had a trampoline here that we took down after a few years. Nobody was using it, so we've put in a bunch of things. For the most part have done very well. Zinnias here and towards the front, and then these are ones that have come up from seed, and then these we bought at Walmart. These bright purple zinnias that are absolutely gorgeous. They're not the real tall ones like we tend to have elsewhere, but they're very prolific. They're giving us a lot of color, and it's really fun to watch that. We have some balloon flowers down here. These have struggled a little bit more because they were put in during the heat, but for the most part the plants are doing fine, and I think those will come back next year. We did put some zinnias in the back. I don't think they got quite enough water they're not doing quite so well. And then some marigolds over there, some more zinnias from seed. Um, right over the fence here, this is probably going to be the best view for this. Our canna, I've been fairly vocal about my disappointment with canna. Last year we had very few flowers. This year, now, I don't know if it's because of the rain or what, but these yellow ones at least are doing really well. Now the ones with the darker color in the background, we're really not getting anything out of those, at least not yet. Those are red flowers, if they do bloom. But we're getting a lot of the yellow ones here, and it's a very complex bloom too. They're very tropical looking. The entire plant is kind of tropical looking in its size and everything else. It kind of looks like tobacco, and then it has these beautiful flowers on it. So it's nice to see that. And then over here, I've always kind of called this the dead zone. We've always had a little more of a challenge growing things over here, but for the most part, things are doing okay. We've got a big wisteria that's doing pretty well. It's had some difficulty, but it's doing better right now. Begonia here doing well. A couple of knockout roses, a couple of nasturtiums. We'll see what those do as the year progresses. And then we'll head back to the terraced area, come past our big weeping cherry, which really hasn't done a whole lot. It gives us a few little flowers in the spring, but not a lot. I think maybe it will as it gets bigger. Here, our neighbors have some nice blue hydrangeas just blooming now, as opposed to ours, which were about 2 months ago. And then our biggest wisteria back in here doing well. No more flowers on that right now. And then, as I was talking about the canna down here, the green ones doing pretty well. The reddish ones not so much. So I'm not going to spend any more time on those, other than just show off a few more of the flowers. And then down in here, it's the black-eyed Susans doing very well. We did have some, even some growing up out of the stones. We did have some orange daylilies that bloomed for about 3 or 4 weeks, and then those finished up. And now, really, it's just going to be the yellow of the black-eyed Susans through the end of the year. And actually, these will probably be finished up by the end of July. And then after that, there really isn't going to be a whole lot of color down here in the terraced area. But at least between irises in the spring and the daylilies and black-eyed Susans, we get about 4 months of color down here. So I have no complaint with that. Here we have on the trellis one of our big climbing roses with the little tiny pink blooms. We have 4 of these. Every one of them is absolutely gigantic. And this one, actually, we probably need to do a little bit of work training this up onto the trellis a little bit better. As I have said on a number of occasions, this was the first year we had the trellis since 2020. This is the first year that the greenery has come up on both sides and met, and that when it was all in bloom back in the early spring, it was a sight to behold. And then we'll come up to the house here and finish things up. Got some more Veronica doing really well. These are actually a little bit behind the ones in the back. So we'll get a little bit more bloom time out of those. We have some phlox here doing very well. Roses here doing particularly well. These bright pink, very fragrant roses, and there are a lot of buds on them, so they're doing great. We've got a knockout here, a yellow knockout. It's got a lot of buds on it, so we should start to get some more flowers on that soon. We've got a tomato growing up out of nowhere here, and actually has a little tomato on it. That's the first one I've seen. Plus a bunch of flowers. We've got strawberries back in there, more Veronica, a couple little zinnias that I'm seeing. The daylilies are all done. The calla lilies are all done. Lilacs certainly are all done. And got a little zinnia there. We've got tomatoes growing here. This is something we have not really come across before, in that they are very pale, which tells us that they're missing some nutrient. They do have some buds on them, so they're not dying necessarily, but they don't look all that healthy. Now this one over here does. The last couple of years we've had more tomatoes than we knew what to do with here. So the fact that they're not necessarily completely taking over this part of the garden is not a bad thing. And we've still got some vinca and the Asiatic lilies that are done. Zinnias over here. These are all from seed. They've really taken off. They only went in about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they're already about 3 feet tall, which is fantastic. And then another one of these climbing pink roses, covered with buds, and as you can see down here, a lot more buds to come. So this will continue to bloom off and on through the end of the growing season. And with that, we are back to the top. And here we are. So again, as we watch from week to week, there's not the dramatic changes that we saw in the spring, but especially after a big rain like this, we see a lot more flowers coming out, still a lot of variety. Definitely worth checking in on this every week, and hope it's sunny wherever you are. And until next time, happy gardening.